They called it Sterling Heights Sanitarium. But behind its iron gates, there were no heights, only depths. Depths of cruelty. In 1921, Sterling Heights opened as a beacon of hope for the mentally ill. Doctors promised revolutionary treatments and gentle care. Families believed them, and sent their loved ones through those heavy oak doors. But few ever returned. And those who did spoke in whispers of screams in the night, needles too large for any cure, and patients dragged down into the basement, never to be seen again. The state closed Sterling Heights in 1958, citing budget cuts. But the truth was far worse. When investigators entered the crumbling facility, they found something unimaginable. 200 patient files. All marked with the same stamp, unaccounted for. This isn't just a ghost story. This is a record of real horrors. And once you hear what happened here, you'll never drive past an abandoned asylum again without wondering, what's still inside. The building itself was an architectural marvel, red brick facades, white marble staircases, and sprawling gardens meant to soothe troubled minds. But Sterling Heights was rotten from the start. Dr. Abram Whitlock, the asylum's founder, believed in radical intervention. He wrote in his journals, "Madness is like rotten wood, it must be cut away before it spreads." Whitlock's cutting involved more than words. Patients were strapped to gurneys and subjected to experimental surgeries without anesthesia. Ice-pick lobotomies, electroshock purifications, and chemical injections designed to burn out hallucinations. Families never suspected. Weekly letters were ghostwritten by staff and sent to loved ones. "Your son is improving. Please send funds for continued care." In reality, their sons were often lying in shallow graves behind the East Wing. Nurses called it the night ward. Every month, select patients were transferred there under strict orders from Dr. Whitlock himself. But no staff member who worked in that ward lasted more than a few weeks. One nurse, Margaret Elkins, kept a secret journal. "The screams never stop," she wrote in 1933. "They come from the walls, from under the floorboards. I've seen patients go in whole and come out hollow-eyed, as if their souls were pulled out." On April 19, 1934, Nurse Elkins vanished. Her journal was found hidden in her locker, soaked with a dark, sticky substance. The last entry read, "They know I'm writing this. If anyone finds these pages, don't trust the doctor. Don't trust anyone." Families began asking questions when patients stopped responding to letters. "I came to visit my brother, but the staff told me he had been discharged," said one woman in a police report. "I never saw him again. Records showed he had been released. But his belongings remained locked in a trunk in the basement." When inspectors investigated, they discovered a network of hidden rooms beneath the asylum, tiny cells with scratch marks gouged into the walls. And inside one of those cells, was a patient file. The photo showed a young man staring blankly into the camera, his eyes glassy and dead. However, the date on the file was 3 years after his supposed discharge date. He had never left. Dr. Whitlock's methods grew even darker in the 1940s. A series of experiments, codenamed Project Sanguis, aimed to extract vital essence from patients to rejuvenate the wealthy. Testimony from a surviving orderly revealed horrific details. They drained them like cattle. Hung them upside down and collected their blood in vats. Said it would make donors young again. By the end of World War II, over 130 patients had vanished into the night ward. No charges were ever filed. The doctor's fortune doubled in just 5 years. But Whitlock's ambition would be his undoing. In 1951, a fire tore through the East Wing. Firefighters reported hearing voices screaming for help from inside. But when they broke through the doors, they found no one. The wing had been abandoned for years. Or so the records claimed. One firefighter later told his wife, "I swear I saw hands reaching out from behind the walls. Little hands. Fingernails clawing at the bricks. He took his own life 2 months later. To this day, visitors report hearing scratching sounds in the charred ruins of the East Wing. In 1958, Sterling Heights abruptly shut down. The official reason, structural concerns. But confidential memos from the State Health Department paint a different picture. Inspectors uncovered more than 50 human remains buried in shallow graves on the property. Most were never identified. Dr. Whitlock was never prosecuted. He disappeared shortly after the asylum closed, his wealth transferred to offshore accounts. Some say he fled to South America. Others claim he still lives, sustained by the very experiments that killed his patients. Urban explorers began breaking into Sterling Heights in the 1980s. What they found was chilling. Wheelchairs stood in long-abandoned hallways, as if their occupants had simply vanished mid-ride. Children's toys lay scattered in a locked room labeled therapy ward. And carved into the walls of the night ward was a single phrase, repeated over and over. "We never left." In 1997, one explorer, Nathan Briggs, live-streamed his visit. Viewers watched in horror as he descended into the basement, and screamed. The camera feed cut out. Nathan was never seen again. Local legends claim the souls of Sterling Heights victims still linger. Hikers hear faint whispers near the ruins at night. "Help me. It's still hungry. Don't trust the doctor." Some say a tall man in a white coat stalks the grounds. He carries a clipboard and whispers patient names into the wind. No one dares spend the night there. Those who have tried, never came home. Sterling Heights may be empty, but its legacy isn't dead. Records show that descendants of Dr. Whitlock hold patents for medical technologies used today. And in a private clinic in New York, patients report seeing a man with cold gray eyes who never ages. Could it be Whitlock? Or something worse? The walls of Sterling Heights remember. And they're still watching. Do you dare investigate further? Comment below with, "The patients never left." And subscribe now, if you're brave enough for the stories other channels won't tell.